All right, guys. Here she is, my friend, the amazing Amy Wienands. Welcome to a Mind Body Business.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tina. I'm honored to be with you today. It's going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. So I met Amy, what, a couple years ago now, Amy?
Yeah. I think
And
like 2 years ago.
yeah, and when I met her, she was just a firecracker, but she has a presence when she walks in the room. But the first thing I notice about her is she is the sharpest dresser you will ever meet. She has the best shoes, the best clothes, and I copied her on some of the outfits. But yeah, for anyone that meets Amy, you will not miss her when she walks in your rooms. But
It's all part of a strategy.
that's right. It's a brand. It's a look. It's a brand, right? You got. Well, we
Oh,
can talk about that.
yeah.
You have been in the industry for gosh 3 decades. You're a superstar, and you started out just like everyone else. I always tell my agents, we all start at the same place.
Yep.
We all start as an individual. So take us back for the audience. Just a quick little recap of your journey, getting you to now the team that you run. Give us a little background.
So quickly, I'm from this area. I'm in my home market and I was in Chicago working at Cook County Jail, reading the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. I've been working with inmates that weren't going to see the light of day. And my dad had given me the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. And I was reading and I'm like, I think I need to get into sales.
Mm,
And so I called my parents who had just put me through private school. They had sacrificed so much. And I'm like, hey, I want to get into real estate. My dad's no, he had
wow.
a, right? I don't think they thought I could make it, and I can see why they didn't think so. Anyway, a few months later, I moved back home, and my plan was always to just learn real estate here because I had a friend that did it, and then I was gonna get out of here. That was the plan. I was headed back to Chicago. And I got into this market, and my dad was my accountability partner. And because I was living at home and he could tell if I was lying to him every day, because you have to find what works for you. If I can get in front of somebody, I have a much better chance with them than on the phone. That's just for me, right?
I agree.
So my dad had me knocking on doors. I had to knock on 50 doors a day, rain, shine, heat, cold. It didn't matter. My first year and a half in the business, that's all, every day I knocked on doors. Here's the thing, I got my first listings that way, and no matter what, I never left the ground game, and that was my ground game, and so I had apples created not apples created, I just took bright, shiny apples, right? And I had a
Yeah.
sticker that I stuck on it said, "I'm fresh in the business, hire me and start packing," and I handed those apples out everywhere I went. I took them to open houses. It was a ground game, but here's the thing, 30 years later, I'm still reaping the benefits of all that door knocking.
Yes.
Like, I still get calls like, "Hey, you knocked on my door 20 years ago. You knocked on."
Do they still have the apple? Is it, like, shriveled
I
down?
well, I sure hope not. But I'm
I
like, just thinking about that, I'm like, "Yuck, who would even take that apple?" But anyway, it worked.
I love that, but I love how you call it the ground game, and I think when I see agents join our team now, it's like they don't really understand what it truly takes, like, obviously, they have leads and they have things like that, but I think a lot of us started with the ground game or the phone game, and really it was your tenacity, but your consistency, and that's really what provided the results. So, when you were an individual agent in your first 4 years, 5 years, like, where did you peak as an agent in individual sales? Because for me, it was like 130 transactions and I lost my mind.
That's about where I did too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was my first year I've never not made great money in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
And I'll never forget this. Our average sale price was like what, 40,000? I mean,
Mm,
I'm in a market that today our average sale price is like 200. So it's probably
right.
like your 50,000. Interest rates are 8 or 9 or 10%. Like I entered when they're at 10. And I'll never forget this. I had just bought a duplex
Mhm.
and again, ground game every day. I'm in an office with all these older people that have been doing it for so long and they're complaining and moaning and groaning about the market. And I had a mentor there who was older than me, a lot older than me, and she's, "Amy, excuses, almost, all of that only counts in horseshoes and dancing. Almost, I'm close to it, none of it counts. The only thing that counts is the deal's done." And I really took that, "Okay, I have to go out and get after it." And so I made a commitment that every week I'm gonna sell at least 1 house a week, and I'm not gonna quit until I do. And then it became every week I'm gonna sell 2 houses a week. I'm not gonna quit until I do. Here's the thing, I had to make sacrifices on that. My friends were all out going out, having fun, doing all their stuff all the time. I had a bigger goal. I had a bigger ambition, and I'll never forget this. I bought a brand new Audi, beautiful pearl Audi, right? I have this new duplex I'm living in, and I'm thinking, "My friends are still hanging out. They're 22 years old, they're hanging out, doing their thing, they're bonfires and partying at the lake and doing all this kind of stuff." And I'm like, I'm walking around with 20 grand in my pocket that I just got checks that I hadn't cashed yet. And
Right.
something clicked on the inside. I'm like, I like how this feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
like how this feels.
yeah.
So I went and this is what I did. I went and I bought, those big flat screen TVs? I
Yeah.
went they had when they first came out, they had
Yeah. Yeah, they
I
were
love
big.
fat backs, right?
Yeah.
I went to Best Buy, I bought 10 of them. And you know what I did? I took them to my family and to my friends. I'm like, "Hey, I just bought you this."
I was gonna
I
say, I hope you weren't door knocking with those. Here, instead of an apple, I'm
They're
we're
they're backbreakers. But I literally I when I was like, I just brought TVs for multiple people, a single mom that had just been divorced, and I'm like, something on the inside clicked. I like this feeling, and I like what I can do with this.
yeah, yeah. It's
And
like
it was a big motivator for me.
it empowers you because you started when you were what, 21?
22.
22, and
So
I was 23, and it's
yeah,
almost like the same mirrored experience. My friends were just getting out of college, figuring out what some were working at shoe stores, and they had degrees, and here we already have a house, we have nice cars, and I did like that feeling, and I thought it was an opportunity. My God, like, for doing
yeah,
something that you're gifted at, which is just, for you, talking to people. I love that. I love that. So you're an individual agent, you're buying everybody flat screen TVs, you're growing. You get
yeah.
to how many years as a solo agent before you're like, "Enough's enough."
Okay, so I was a solo agent for quite a while. I would hire people on the side to do things for me.
Sure.
But I didn't actually have there was no such thing as a team or in my market. Like,
Right.
team was even slightly a concept. So, like, all the office managers, everywhere I went, like, I would get really close to them, and I would buy them TVs, buy them things because they were doing all my paperwork
Right.
behind the scene. So, I couldn't go very long without starting to have some assistance, like, some support. But I just didn't call it my team member because they actually were people working for my brokerage, and they were doing it on the side for me.
Right, right.
And that's a key. I always tell everybody, I'm like, "Guys, they were sending me so much business too. Their friends, their relatives, and they worked with a bunch of agents." But I'm like, I think that there's all these hidden nuggets that if you see it, I'm like, "Oh, our operations team is running this show really. Without them, we're nothing."
Right.
They see us making big dollars all the time. So I really tried to surprise them, give them trips, I always try to be really good to them. And they just naturally wanted to be good to me, and so they took care of my paperwork. When they saw issues with it, they corrected things, and so I had a team immediately because I needed it.
You needed it.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
didn't call it my team, and
Exactly.
that was within probably my 1st year.
Yeah. You
Right.
leveraged yourself. And I think the same thing when I look back, I had a brokerage that actually did my paperwork for me.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
paid like a 30% split or 40%, whatever it was at the time. It was a higher split, but I did have that support. And so you got how long for me it was 14 years till the wheels fell off and I'm like, okay, I need a partner. I need somebody to help with the buyers. What year was it for you?
I was 10 years in when I hired my first full-time assistant
Okay.
and got her licensed.
Yeah.
She's still with me today.
Is she? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It was then. I don't even know how she's made it with me because I was such a hot mess.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Hey, we're doing this today. Hey, we're doing that, right? Game change. Anyway,
Right.
so
I'll have to let my team re-listen to this because they'll laugh and go, "Yeah, that's pretty much Tina." But I think there's a little bit of method to that madness. If you don't try something and fail at it, and try something else and fail at it, and trying until you get it right. Which I don't know if we ever get it right. We just
yeah,
get it and we move
yeah,
on. And yeah.
yeah.
So you were what, 15 years, 17 years solo? Like when did you hire your
I was
first
like, I was
partner?
my first person, I was 10 years in. I hired
Okay,
Anna.
10 years.
I
Okay,
was
good.
then I hired Anna. And then I got her license probably within I found out like within 3 months it wasn't gonna work just to have a person. Because
Right.
I already kind of had people.
Yeah.
So she came in and I started having her work with buyers. And we did that for probably maybe a year or two. And then I'm like, you know what? I was starting to hit capacity because this is what I felt like every year. I don't believe in going backwards. In
Yeah.
fact, my first loss ever in the real estate industry last year, and I'm not ever doing that again. But it's good for me to experience because it's a possibility. And
Yeah.
but then with it,
That's right.
I'd always believed that I'm going up, I'm going up, I'm going up. And so the thing that I was impacted by the market or the market would shift and I would adjust, I never bought into that. I always thought every year I'm gonna do better and better. And every year I did better and better. However, it was like being on a treadmill. And while I love a treadmill, the incline started to get so high that I had no personal life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think married till I was 37, but I started dating my husband at 33. And I literally, we would walk out, and you remember this, Tina. You'd walk
Yeah,
out to your car, maybe you put it down for 2 hours when you went out for a date, and then you get out and you've got 30 showings to set up. And
exactly. Yeah, 30 calls, missed calls, text messages, emails, and it's, oh, back to the grind. Yeah.
it just got to a point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But I
Yeah,
wasn't willing to sacrifice the client experience, and I wasn't willing to go backwards. So I
right.
had to add. So I had another agent approach me and say, "Hey, can I come work with you?" And I'm like, "Sure, I don't know what you're gonna do with me, but I'll take you." And I was at Remax at the time, and they didn't believe in teams.
Yep.
So I started to create a space, and I didn't even know this. I really wanted to, I created a cafe space in my office.
Mm.
This is back so long ago, but I'm like, I'm going to create a coffee shop vibe in this upstairs space that they let me remodel. And I spent all my money remodeling, redoing. So I'd bring people, clients into the office, and it didn't look like, I'm sorry to say this. The Remax office was like, it wasn't very good. And I'm like, come to my world though.
That's
And they
right.
came to my world, and I had a great vibe. I bought this really cool table. I had all these different coffee products. Like, I created an experience for them to come into my world. And I started that probably within 12 years of being in the business. And then we started to outgrow. I started to add more team members, and we did our first music video, uh, "Call Me Maybe," right?
Yeah.
Hey, that song. Or is it "Call Me Lady"? "Call Me Maybe"? Yeah. So we did our first music video, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna hire a videographer." So I did all of that. I had 3 people on my media team within by probably year 12 or 13. And
Trailblazing. Like always, I feel like your personality style was you're also a learner where you're gonna go find the info. You were in mastermind groups. You would fly to conferences, right? You were just like sitting at home in your little town, never leaving your box. You were like going out and bringing back like new visions for the company to move it forward. Yes?
okay, so let's go back to this. I was with Remax for 13 years, and
Yeah.
no, I never attended a Remax event. I
Me.
never went to a conference,
Yep.
never thought about it. In fact, the first time that I found out that I ranked like 30th in the country for Remax in our small market was through the coaching company I was working with. They called me. They said, "Amy, you're like ranked like 30th in the country. Good job." And I go, "What? What is that?" I didn't know anything about it. I was in my own bubble. And
Right.
here's the day. I had a game-changing day. I had hit absolute capacity. I was swamped. And I got a phone call from Matt, and he said, "Amy, I have so many options for you. I can get you so many deals." Matt Wagner, "I can get you so many deals. I can create so much business for you." I said, "Sir, I don't mean anything by this, but I actually don't need any more business. I don't need anything from you. I need a life. That's what I need." He goes,
Right.
"Man, it sounds like you need a coach." And I had been looking for somebody to help me,
Yeah.
but I look at like in our state, and I'm like, I'm doing everything much more than anybody in my state. And so
Right.
he hooked me up with my first coach. And within 3 weeks, I completely transformed my entire team. We flipped to buyer's agents and listing partners. I
Yeah.
bought a boomtown system, which I didn't even qualify for a boomtown system. They called me and said, "Hey, you're not big enough for this system, but if you're gonna stay coaching with Corcoran at the time, we'll keep you." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I will." So I made all these financial commitments. I went and got a vendor program. Guys, within 2 weeks, I had a vendor program bringing like 12 or $13,000 a month into my company. But I did it like, I'm like, "Create a document. No, let's go sell it."
It's action taking fast. So you didn't go outside of your bubble. Were you listening to podcasts at the time?
I
Like
wasn't.
books? Nothing. You were just like,
No.
I'm doing this. Okay, I love that. And then you realize with rate, there is a
Yep.
whole other world out there. And that's when the
And
true
that's what I did.
exciting comes. And
Yeah,
when you think about it, when you do, I always think of the book Think and Grow Rich. And
yes,
one of the chapters is about masterminds and
yes,
how you have to be in masterminds. And that's
yes.
how I met you, Amy. You're now in our mastermind at EXP.
Yeah,
And I think for me, I was stuck at 75 million, and in 4 years, it was like 400 million. Why? Because I got to rub elbows with Amy and learn from her, and her giving heart was just like, "Here's what I'm doing." And we all got to learn and exchange. So that's where you really saw the growth. And then your team is what, 20% market share for how many
yeah.
years? It's been
We were 20% market share for a long time. The market has changed. We've got 5 new companies in our
yeah,
market in the last
sure.
couple of years. So we're like at 13%.
Which is still amazing.
It's not, I'm not that happy with it, but it's
I know,
okay.
'cause you're an achiever and you wanna win, and I get that, but it's still an amazing feat and to have that for so long. So, what truly sets your agents and your company apart right now? If you had to land on one or two things, like what is the difference?
I would say that we treat every client like a luxury experience. We don't
Yeah.
have a luxury market, not really. We
Yeah.
might have we don't our market's not luxury, but
Right.
I create a luxury brand
You did. You did.
because I want people to feel uplifted. I think real estate can be done better. And
Yeah.
so we created a really good I think our client support, I think their experience is really great. I love like Louis Vuitton. I love specialty type stuff. And I wanted to create that kind of an environment. Brokerage went from the time they walk in the door to what they experience with us at their home, to our marketing materials, to our to everything that we do. It's
Yeah.
just worked with excellence. Excellence is a big thing to me. But I would say that we're not transactional. We're very
Yeah.
much relational.
Yeah.
And I've like it poured into my team so much, we just don't quit.
Yeah.
So environments that or things sold quickly and there was no issue. Okay, that's probably that stick to itness, don't quit, find a solution. Probably wasn't as necessary of a skill as the environment we're in today. Like we're not just putting a sign in our yard. No matter what, we're coming up with a game plan because we don't quit. That didn't work. We'll try something new. And so my greatest branding and my greatest marketing things have come from I've got a client frustrated and I'm a super server. So I'm going to figure out how to elevate it. No, I had a meeting with one of the brokers in my market not very long ago. He goes, Amy, you know that you've created this entire situation around us. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you caused everybody in our market to have to rise to a whole entire different level. And I'm proud of that because our industry needed to be elevated.
Yeah. I think, and that's what I see when I see you. And I feel the same way. It's like you want excellence, and sometimes you feel like you could be nitpicky. Do you feel like
Yeah.
does your team call you like nitpicky? Like, Amy, why do we have to do that? Is there complete buy-in where they're just like, yes, we're excellent? Or do you find that they can get, do we have to keep going and trying to change the things? Because you find that I want to change things and constantly elevate them. They could be fine or average or it's working, but let's make it work better. Let's get it like elevated. So what's your mindset around that?
So I feel like the people that are with me, like my core people, the core that have been with me and really embrace our culture,
Yeah.
know and they expect that we're always going to keep elevating it.
Right.
We're always going to be changing things. And they have that same kind of want to. The
Yeah.
people that don't make it so well with us are the people that don't want to put forth all the effort. And they're the ones like that, like, I don't, we can't do mopey attitudes. Thing. I'm just not, that's not my environment.
Yeah. No.
Um, the one thing I've had to work on as a personal thing is because, like, I'll put something out there and we'll accomplish it, and I'll have already thought it was accomplished, like, I already knew it was gonna be accomplished, so I don't take the time to celebrate it enough, and
Yeah.
they people need to be celebrated.
It's so true because my team has said that. Can we just slow down to celebrate our success? Can we just slow down to celebrate? I'm like, yeah, but we're 80% there. And just like you, I'm like, I'm on to the next thing because we did that. We achieved it. And you're gonna land the plane. And then I'm already got the new planes in the air on the new initiative.
Yeah,
And it is hard because I think again, that's why we get along so well. And we can hike up mountains for 5 hours together and talk the
yeah.
whole time because I think we're very much in alignment with our attitude in life. Let's talk just a little bit more. I want people to know about your podcast. I think Amy has the best podcast. It's the You Are More podcast, and it's motivating and it's just about people living their purpose. So, talk a little bit about that because I'd love to get our audience over to your podcast as well.
Okay, so when I turned 47, I started to obsess about the fact I was gonna be 50 in 3 years, okay? And every day it plagued me. Every
Yeah.
day I was I'm just being really honest. It was
Yeah,
always
yeah. You're always authentic. That's why I love
I
you.
was like, "What am I gonna do to be impactful?" Like, I
Yeah.
have done a lot in our community. We have
Yeah.
made massive impact in our community, but I'm talking on a deeper level. I'm not talking about just funding things. I'm talking like, how am I personally gonna move the needle for people in their lives beyond my team?
Right.
And so I kept thinking about it. I was trying to figure out how I was gonna do it, how I was gonna do it, and all of a sudden I'm like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna do a podcast." But
Mhm.
here's the thing I had to overcome. I'm like, everyone knows me as super server in my market. I'm gonna jump high, I'm gonna show up high, I'm gonna like and I'm thinking, what if they don't like who I really am? Because I'm a
Yeah.
pleaser.
Yeah, I
If you're
know.
a real estate agent, you're a people pleaser,
Yes, you are. Yeah.
right? Let's
Yep.
just face it. You're a
You
people
wanna
pleaser.
be liked, you wanna give great service, like, you wanna be the superstar of the journey, right? Yeah, the hero.
So then when you go out and you start, okay, I'm gonna put this podcast out there. and I'm going to show you who I really am. Not that wasn't me, but like when I'm like who I really am, are you going to want to do business with my company? What's the impact going to be to my agents when I'm really who I am? Not that I was hiding behind a facade, but I was like, I could, when you're just so focused on, I'll have a great client experience, we'll do that, we'll present, we'll do that. But then when you go in, okay, this is who I am. Like I walk and talk to myself every morning. There you
Right.
go.
Right.
You
There
got,
you go.
you know what I mean? I
The
really
re
believe in that power of your spoken word. Like I talk about it all the time. I really believe in casting vision. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's things that I do every day that could be seen that could that I'm like, "Guys, if you saw me every morning, you might think I'm crazy, and I don't care because look at my world and then look at yours." But,
Right.
that was the biggest fear for me is how what will people think when I put this podcast out? Because I'm really pretty authentic in it.
You're very authentic in it, and that's what I think I love about it. I think when you can be your authentic self, like Kevin and I always say, people are full of shit. Like they're
Yes.
full of shit. They pretend or they have these boundaries of what their parents taught them and all the things, and then they show up as different people. And I forget what book I read. Actually, I think it was the EOS book, Gino Wickman, and he said that he was always a different person depending on if he was in front of his team, in front of his kids, in front of his wife, in front of the church, in front of and his nightmare would be having a surprise party, walking in and having all of the people in his world in one place. Because who does he need to
Are you?
greet? Who are
That's
you? But you are so authentic, and I think that's what attracts people to you.
yeah,
That's why I love hanging around you because 'cause I'm like, if she's, like, having a bad day or talking about a strife in your life or your company or saying, "Hey, I took a hit," like, whatever, it's life. Like, we're not always winning, we're not always
yeah,
losing, we're human, right? And
yeah.
just that you share that connects people with you on a higher level, and that's why I love the podcast.
Here's the thing, I started to realize that I can meet with people and show them the path and do whatever. They're always intimidated because it looks like I got there easily, or I had a
Right.
special skill set.
Exactly.
When I tell him that I was my little boy, he's reads at the 8th grade level, right? He's in 3rd grade. And he's reading to me the other night. I said, "Hey, Foster." I said, "You're so awesome." And he's, "Yeah." I go, "You're a great reader." And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Where I used to have to go when it came time to reading class." And he goes, "Where?" I go, "Into the not so smart kids class." He goes, "What do you mean, mom?" I go, I had to go to a different class because I could not read." He goes, "Oh, you could read?" Yeah, and I didn't do so well in school either. But you know what? When I start to say that, because he's like here, he's
Yeah.
where I start when you start to be able to say, "Hey, people get it. They can admire your success. They can be attracted to it, but they only connect to you as a human being and only relate to you when they can walk through your difficulty, your struggle. That's where they connect with you. They were connect in the struggle, and then then it gives them the ability to have a borrowed belief that, oh, hey, if you can do it, I can do it too.
Exactly, exactly, and that's why I think same thing, I struggled in school, and it's I felt less than. When my whole life, I thought I was dumb in the beginning because school put me in a box and told me that I was not that smart, but I am
Same,
smart,
same,
right?
same.
Like, we're smart, we just have a crazy brain that needed to learn a different way, so I love that about you.
I told my team the other day, here's how you're going to win. It's back to the basics. I used to drag people to the bank. I'm going with you. I'm going to sit in that appointment. I've got your DTI already figured out. I know what you can do, but let's figure out the plan. And I would go to all those things. And I'm like, guys, if you go sit your body in the seat next to a buyer and take them in to meet with a lender, because half the time they've been doing stuff, not knowing what they're even signing. Oh, I got my
Exactly,
pre-approval letter. I don't know what it means. I glanced through it. I clicked on the dot loop or I clicked on the DocuSign
right,
like, back to it you're gonna win so huge in this environment if you'll get back in the seat with your client. Ride along with them and create a different experience for them. And I'm like, I just told an agent in my office this morning, I'm like, "You want a parking lot full of cars waiting to use you as a buyer's agent? Do what you keep doing and go get in the seat, take them in there and showcase that." Because no one's doing that.
yes,
And here's
yes,
the thing too, Tina, this has been really interesting. I've spoken at a few different real estate events,
mhm,
and I've had lenders come in, and I'm like, "Guys, do you think it's a good" just throwing it off the cuff. I'm like, "Hey, do you think it's a great time to be buying a home right now?" And I have to tell you something, every time I've asked the question, they've hesitated.
really,
And I'm like, "Guys, that's your partner.
right,
That's who you're sending your client to?
so true, so
Guys, we gotta take this partnership a little bit different." Like, I'm like, "Guys, I you can't sell something you don't believe in." I've passed on more listings than probably most people have ever had because I didn't believe in the price, I didn't believe in the product,
exactly,
the right person for it. But now if my lender partner doesn't think the market's really this is really a
yeah,
good time for buying, you need to know that because they can be saying, Oh, yeah, but their body language, their energy told me everything the opposite. And I
So
didn't throw them to the curb, but I'm like, "Hey, let's figure out what your fears are." We have to go deeper with people now to go faster. If you feel fear, the consumer feels it 10 times more. Let's go deeper with it. Let's acknowledge it till it gets to a point where we all feel like, "Yeah, this actually is a great time to buy." I just went with my team. I'm like, "Raise your hand if you feel like this is one of the best environments to buy in."
yeah.
Nobody. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, let's discuss this. Why do you feel that way? Because it's not wrong that you don't feel that way. It's
Correct.
not you have concern. It's not
Correct.
wrong that you think, I'm sure there are better times, but let's go through it." We spent an hour and a half one day just going through all the fear, all the anxiety, all the what ifs with the lender partner.
Mhm.
And everyone walked out of there, "Yeah, it is the best time to buy." The lender himself, he called me back and he's, "Amy, thank you. I can't believe it." But everybody, your lender partner included, is getting pummeled with negativity
To
24/7. Their
totally.
banks are chiseling back. Do they think that it's really the best time? It's something to ask, because if you're sending them to them and they're not on the same page as you, or if they have any hesitation about this is a good time or not, because buyers are asking it,
Absolutely. They've
they're not
gotta
the
look
parents
at
are
it.
having them ask it, right? Someone's encouraging them to ask the question from someone other than the real estate agent. If
Yeah.
they're on the same page, I don't care if they say it with their mouth and their body says different, they know that it's different.
It's so true because Kevin was like, "I feel a vibe, like the vibe's not right," just for people in general. "We need to have one-on-ones with our people. We need to get back in there." And the biggest thing that the agents were talking about is their mindset. A lot of them struggle with that mindset of money, like having money, spending money. What does money mean to me? And so it's like, how can you go out with a client and talk about money when you're uncomfortable? How can you sell a loan and tell somebody it's a great time to buy when you're uncomfortable yourself? So yeah, I think that's really important. And we had a big mindset talk, and I think we need to have another one because I did not have them raise their hand, and I'm gonna do that in my Tuesday meeting, so thank you for that golden
And it's not I'm like, I'm not saying it in judgment. I've had my fears
Sure.
about this. I've had
Absolutely.
right? We
Absolutely.
looked at that last week and I'm like, "How many are you concerned about this new all the lawsuits and all that going on?" For the first time, I've felt fear about our industry. But for 10 years, I've been saying if we don't up our game, we're vulnerable, right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but just to acknowledge that, and people had different conversations. Again, I had lenders in the room, and
Mhm.
I went right to the base rut. You're our partner.
Yeah.
If you're not on the same page, it's not gonna vibrate. So, you're
Exactly.
important, the agent's important in their opinion, but not only that is who are you referring to? It matters.
It's so true.
I wanna tell you one more thing,
Okay, tell me.
okay? I gave this at a talk a few weeks ago, and I think it's a game changer
Okay.
for anybody who's walking through difficulty or trial, right? That's to me is base thinking. So I have an exercise that I do that I didn't realize was abnormal until I told somebody about it.
Okay,
Okay.
tell me. I wanna know.
So I every morning when I'm walking, like my mind can be in the normal, trying to
Right.
figure out solutions, but I consciously make a decision as I see my brain as an elevator and I
Mhm.
go to the second floor. And when I go to the second floor, I see nothing but windows and I see nothing but possibilities and I see nothing. And that's where I begin to put like my dream stuff, my vision stuff,
Yeah.
right? And all I see is like I'm standing over a second story and it's wide open space and I've got this. Oh yeah, I'm elevated above and beyond my problems,
I
above
love it.
above the difficulties, and I can have there's where my long-term goal and I sit there and I think about I have a vision of it like for my health, for my family, for my future in my head and I think about what's it going to feel like when I'm there and it starts to give me motion to put my feet to the ground and create it. And that is what I did when I got in this business. I always saw my signs everywhere. I would visualize my signs are all over this community.
Yeah.
So you are a creator on the inside. And I think that in a market like this, an environment like this, you are the master controller of your outcome. And you have the ability because you're always, I think you're always, what do you want to call it? You're basically a magnet. You're whatever you're putting out, you're getting
Your
back.
antenna.
You're
Yeah.
a broadcast and a receiving
Yes.
station, right?
Yes.
But if you're always like, okay, I'm owning everything here. These agents are coming to me. These listings are coming to me. These opportunities are coming to me. Everywhere you go, you find what you're looking for. So you
Right.
are a creator. So I think if you could just say, okay, this is base level thinking. Okay, take the elevator up. It's intentional. Get to the second floor, get a big overview and project where you're going and get a vision of it.
I love it. And for some, they might go, "Amy, that's so hard." You're truly a visionary, and that would be like the description, right? I can see things in my head. I can paint the vision. That's where people can do a vision board, right? Just you're at
Yeah,
baseline thinking. If it's hard for you to visualize in your head, which I've had people say that to me, then put it on paper,
yeah.
draw it out.
Share it.
But you said feel the emotion,
Yeah,
feel it, see it, and believe it. And it
yeah.
is. It's an exercise that you have to continue to develop. And it's not natural for some people, but it can be learned. It can be learned.
It's something if you develop the habit of it, you're gonna
Yes.
in any environment. Doesn't matter what the market, doesn't matter ups, downs, whatever. You'll always win if you can spend time in that visualization and put and get the emotion of what it's gonna feel like when you arrive there and put
Yeah.
action. You win.
You win. It's that's the formula. That is the formula. I'm glad you said that because I think the way you unpacked it is easy and digestible, and that's another thing you're good at is explaining things going, "Yeah, that makes sense." And mindset is everything. It really is. So, that's such a great reminder. What I love is that and I wish I could put them up on the screen, but you have a freebie today because I believe in giving back, and I think that's our culture at EX. That's your culture. You give back great energy, you give back authenticity. So, today, Amy is gonna give us a freebie, a golden nugget, as I'd love to call it, because I always love to get a golden nugget from someone. But it's her listing book and her buyer book. And we're going to have a link for you guys to literally download it. And I'm so appreciative, Amy, that you are willing to give that because I know that some people are not willing to share, but I know
Yeah.
you have a sharing heart.
No. They're just leave behinds that we leave at every house, and especially in this environment, I think it's really good to have the buyer specialist advantage. Hey,
Oh, they're gonna love that. Show them how they look. Yeah, they're gonna
right?
love it.
You
The
see it?
buyer specialist advantage,
Yeah,
amazing.
it talks about it, the home buying process, the plan for your success. Like it just lays it out, like what's next, pre-closing reminders. It's got everything.
If you guys are listening to Amy, I know you're falling in love with her because how can you not? Go listen to her podcasts, reach out to her if you're an agent, who just needs support or whatever. Amy, how can they get in touch with you?
You know what? Amy at amywienands.com is my website, but email me, text me. My phone number, all of it.
Well, you are an amazing person. I'm so glad you're in our personal world. I feel just an amazing connection to you. And I love your heart. I love your brain. And I love your enthusiasm. And congrats on all the success. You deserve it because you did the work. And
Thank
I know agents are going to listen to this and be very inspired. So thank you, friend, for joining us. And I'll see you very soon.
Tina. I love you, girl. I'm proud of you. Keep soaring.
You too. And thanks for the impact that you make on everyone.
All
Love
right.
ya.
All right. Bye bye.